What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Life and Suffering of Sir Brante, episode number 4 with me, GamerKnoob. We're in the middle half of our adolescence years. Let's get this going. 12 years old now, you overhear an important conversation. It is a spring night, and your mother has just sent everyone to bed. You walk past Father's study and hear voices coming from beyond the door. Grandfather is yelling, and Father is replying quietly. The elder Brante men are fighting, arguing about the place of the commoners in the city. You sneak outside to avoid Mother's attention and hide next to the open window of the study. Perhaps they'll mention you too. That low-life idiot had the gall to pay me a visit and beg me for some service. He had the insolence to ask me outright. He thought I was going to support his claim for the chairman seat in the Lesser Quorum. How dare he? Father, please listen. Mayor Egmont may be lowborn, but he carries a lot of clout in Magra. He owns 5 iron mines. A friend like him could be quite useful, should he become the chairman of the Lesser Quorum. I don't give a damn who this Egmont is, Robert. What he is, however, is lowborn. His lot is humility and obedience. The likes of him can never rule anything. They're nothing but a flock of sheep that need a firm, noble hand to guide them. I wasted so many years trying to quash the decorum decree, but that accursed Cornelius Tempest did everything in his power to make the Emperor sign that pathetic screed, and now even lowlifes can wield power. True power, Robert. Just the right to discuss the side of the Archduke's tasks. Nothing more. That is only the beginning. What's next? Are they going to arm the lowlifes now? Make them into judges if the Empire rejects the Foundation and the laws? The entire edifice will crumble. Ah, who am I telling this to? It is already crumbling, and you, my son and heir, are a harbinger of its destruction. Father, I'm begging you, I do not wish to marry a third time. Lydia is a good wife and a dutiful mother to my children. If you'd only allow her to... I will allow them nothing, neither Egmont nor that freeloading wench of yours. What will you want me to do next? Live by the laws of the lowborn? I can already see where this is going, and I'd rather run my own sword through my guts than live in a country where nobles and lowlifes share the same rights. My only dream is to see the name of Brante in the Blue Book, but that dream will never come true. They will never call me Venerable El Brante, and it is all because of this marriage of yours. My only hope now is to hear Stefan addressed in such a manner one day. Thank the twins I didn't let you ruin the boy. He's about to grow up to a true nobleman. His children will bear the name of El Brante. I have 2 more grandsons. Those spineless milksops from the common lot, they're incapable of anything. The best your middle son could do is sneak into the Imperial College and get ennobled by the mantle. Although I have grave doubts about even that. As for the downtrodden Nathan, I hold no hope out for him whatsoever. You hear grandfather's heavy footsteps and thudding of the cane and slamming at the door. It's time for you to sneak back home before you're discovered. Power +1. Overseer in power. Alright, school begins. You start studying at the school of Sir Tibber and begin to master the sciences. Yeah, we do. We're geniuses. A storm of expectations. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house, but before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put the books away, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. We've chosen a deserving school for you. Sir Tibber's School for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it's not only a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend Thomas. Sir Tibber's School, yeah? I gotta ask my parents to send me there too as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arknian design. The classrooms are tall and spacious with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless, Thomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day, Father asks you about your studies. You have already told him twice how Magra joined the Empire and how Noble's Court of Honor is different from the Commoner's Civil Court in the city prefecture. But Father keeps pressing you to work even harder. When it is time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind, for you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first months in school draw to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You've locked yourself away in your room and it is getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There's a nagging thought in your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who live next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue the friend in the need? But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door, standing there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either you speak first or he runs away. But this time he actually says something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Noob? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law and theology. Either one or the other, but Thomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? I'm not studying theology, but I'm kind of really torn between the other three here. I want to go help Thomas, but like I only have like 2 more deaths. If they stab me, I will die, and then I will only have 1 death to play with, and I don't want to do that. They said they're gonna tear it apart with swords. Thomas might just have to die for this one. We might lose a little bit of our friendship though. I think I'm gonna, yep, I'm gonna take my brother's help here. You cannot help but pay attention to your brother's quiet, weak voice. You push the books away. Nathan runs to you and wraps his arms around your legs. They should just leave you alone. I don't want you to get sick. Warmth emanates from his hands. You feel the burden of responsibilities thrust upon you fall from your shoulders. At last you realize something. You can make your own decisions rather than submitting to the will of others. You laugh at this new realization and feel a new spring in your step. Nathan laughs with joy when he feels this. He takes your hand and pulls you outside. You've studied enough. You spend the rest of the evening playing with your little brother, teaching him how to build a watchtower out of wooden planks, sticks, and old racks behind the house. Nathan's success in construction leaves much to be desired. Unlike his skill in covering himself with mud, still he is absolutely overjoyed. The morning comes, you barely have time to wake before you're walking to the menacing edifice of school. The entire day is a constant flow of questions demanding answers. You give satisfactory responses on law and history, although you're somewhat confused by many technicalities and chronological orders. Your knowledge of the interpretations of the lots leaves much to be desired. Your parents are dissatisfied with your performance. You know that you could have worked harder. Still, you believe yesterday was not a waste. Yeah, we have +1 for Nathan now. And a lot more willpower to play with, too. We're back to full power. Nearly prepared for anything. I think that was a pretty big choice. I wonder how our friend is doing, Thomas. Your education continues. You study imperial law. You come to realize that there is a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. Seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Arknian gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what's the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, noob? You already have an answer ready. The latter's status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arknians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the empire. They own lands and estates, they fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted only by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Arknians and their status? What have you learned about them? The Arknians stand above all human gentry. They were born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arknian tells you and never defy them, ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire in the Legion or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son, all in due time. Sons of the Nobility. Sir Tiber's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here, and every passing day the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time the bully leading them is Diederik, the son of the secretary for the Imperial Chancellery, a self-important Slav. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Diederik and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again, you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy, flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. You wave Thomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucket of slop, full of slop, splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Diederik and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he sit next to decent folk? Thomas clenches his fists. You're dead, Diederik. He throws himself at Diederik, haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one move before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diederik sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diederik readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners, he asks. Your father is a noble of the mantle, and you ought to be friends with your own kind. You're equals, not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down as he struggles furiously. The other students are watching you, frozen in fear. Diederik extends a hand to you. He expects you to shake it. What will you do? We'll admonish him, yes. What do we... How about John do a fight? Okay, that's one of the choices that I didn't want to take the spirituality for. I'm not gonna lie. You do not shake his hand. Instead, you challenge Diederik to display at least some dignity by fighting you one-on-one. That is, if he considers himself a nobleman's son, of course. Diederik's face grows serious. There is no way for him to refuse this public challenge. Diederik makes a sign, and Thomas is released and pushed to the floor. He gets back on his feet, cursing and itching to rush at them. Again, but you hold your friend back. The teacher of Imperial Law comes into the room just in time. Everybody immediately returns to their seats. A day full of lessons begins, and you keep daydreaming of Diederik's face and how you're going to put an end to that nasty smile of his. Let's catch that bastard together and clean his clock. He hurt me, not you. The deal has been made. You tell your friend. This is a matter of your honor now. Thomas huffs angrily but agrees. Diederik is already waiting for you in a narrow back street by the school with his retinue by his side. You walk forward and give him an opportunity to end this dispute once and for all. This is the nobleman's way. If you win this battle, Diederik and the other children of the nobles will never pick on the commoners' sons again. If he wins, you will never stand in their way and protect other students. You will fight him one-on-one. Diederik walks forward uncertainly. You both roll up your sleeves. You raise your fists in a fighting stance. Diederik tries to copy your movements. You hit him first. Diederik does manage to land several glancing blows, but is fighting a losing battle. He has never been in a real street fight. Thomas nods in approval. You have learned a lot from him. It does not take long for Diederik to stop fighting back. One more blow and he squeals and raises his hands. You have won. You turn to the other nobleman's sons with a victorious look on your face. No more teasing. And if anyone else says so much as a bad word about Thomas, they'll pay. Diederik's former retinue disperses silent. I'll take it. Year 1131. 13 years old now. The Silver Tree. It tells you more about Anazat. It is more than just a provincial capital. It is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred Silver Tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never been approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today you will be taking your first trip to the Silver Tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon, you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Anazat. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are homes to paupers, day laborers, and preachers. People of the district bow humbly to you and point you towards the temple. They seem at peace despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with its divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems to be a part of it. There is a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in small, separate groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with the desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver-white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You're distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path that should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She is wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You've never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. Is it Sophia? No. She beckons to you and says her name, Matilde, a preacher from Estynia. What she says next to you shakes to your very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins, she says, yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you will only find lies about the lots, the erring words of prophet Assailants, sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives know that they're never so much as mentioned the lots. I knew it wasn't Sophia, by the way. The red hair and she was older, but was maybe some magic happened. Nope. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie. You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Matilde or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your fellow classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief with only a single golden lock. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There's a bit of color on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her, she's dangerous. Come to the temple with me, only there you'll see the truth. You stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims and the sounds of shuffling feet torn between two people you've never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? I'm gonna go with the pilgrim girl. I agree, man. You shrug, smile sheepishly at the girl and walk towards the red-haired preacher. This Matilde of Estynia, she speaks too strangely to be ignored, and you feel she will be leaving soon anyway. And the temple, surely the temple is not going anywhere. The lady preacher hands her book to you. There are words on the cover, the lives of the twins. The book is so heavy you almost drop it. The crowd around you barely allows for the proper reading. The best you can do is flip through the pages and hope to glimpse a message or two from it. Matilde's hushed voice comments on each new page. The book was written by the disciples of the twins. When the twin gods descended and brought faith into the world, they walked at the lands of them. It is filled with many stories of wonders and battles, as well as records of the twins' own sermons and dialogues. They discuss many things that now guide the living. The fate that awaits us on the shining pillar, the eternal life after true death, the faint evil of magic. Yet Matilde points out something that you cannot help but notice yourself. There is not one mention of the lots in this book. How can this be, you ask her. It is what it is, she responds. The twins never spoke of them. They never left any teaching behind, nothing but their deeds and their own lives in this world. You frown. Then how come we know about the lots now? They exist thanks to Assailants, she says. Assailants, favored by the gods, the elder's favorite disciple, walked the lands by his side and through all his hardships until his fatal end in Eterna. They came to be, she explains. When people came to Assailants and asked him how they should live, yet Assailants was but a man, and his teaching of the lots were not divine revelation, but a speculation of his own devising. This feels much tougher than learning prayers, so the teaching of the lots come not from the gods, but rather from their student. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for the people? A new faith, the red-haired preacher says with a smile. You think about her words for a long time as the silver tree whispers above your head. The very tree grown from the blood of the people who walk the land of the younger and the elder. You keep thinking on it even as you make your way home and into bed. Your conclusions bring you no comfort, and if that strange lady preacher was right, then you're supposed to be free to interpret the twins' words yourself, which means that you and only you should be responsible for your life and fate in the hereafter. But who can tell for sure? You cannot fall asleep that night, so they were lying to you all this time. In the morning you still mutter off of a prayer and the words of your lot, to work, endure, and suffer. But it is all worth it if the lots don't really exist? Or is it the will of the twins after all? Did they actually speak their will through Assailants, and those who defy that will are defying the true order of the world? These questions will remain in your mind for a long time. Sorry, Jean or Jeanne, but our spirituality went up. Oh yay. The shadow of the past. Another school day has ended and you are making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers, the founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty, the 3 estates, each with its own right. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant Megrim towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join your mother in prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her just as she has taught you, ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Noob, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family, difficult things. This is about your father and me, about our marriage. You gaze curiously into Mother's eyes. I'm sure you wondered about this before. Your father is a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Noob, your father, when his first wife Amelia Elborn died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know, the troubles I had had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner and asked them for help, protection, and justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name be forever forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honored his lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with a low-born progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that, at that very moment, the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me there was nothing he could do to make that detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and baby Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down Mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer, but caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others, but his decision to marry me, he is still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors we hear about the Brantes all over Anazat. It is only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brante bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation, and now the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal. Thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she is telling you? My son, I'm not telling you this just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she can never be a Bronte. Even if the elder Brontes agreed, the news would stir up old scandal in the minds of high society. If that were to happen, Noob, they would even see your birth as illegitimate. Mother sighs heavily. What I told you just now is something you have to know, son. You're about to enter adult life, but by my lot, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But I may ask this question. Now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? Absolutely. Absolutely. Filled with determination, you assure Mother that Gloria is and always will be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Bronte too. You want her to be a part of a family. Who cares what the nobles of Anazat say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh, Noob, if you only knew how happy that would make me to have our family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly fades away to concern. But I already owe good Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much, a home, an education, his care and advice. The Bronte bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then you hear Gloria's careful knock at the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Noob, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Bronte family. They have given her hope. You hope they can hear her. Of course we're gonna keep... Yeah, absolutely! Mom and sis, we love both of them. Screw what everybody else says. We're changing this world when we grow up. We're gonna do our best to try. You were 13 now, another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priest and why the clergy is the only one of the 3 estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other 2 estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard all this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy named Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he had just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply, about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze, and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic. Real magic, just like the books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There's a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up for his revenge, fire in his eyes and sparks on his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his fingers, and the book of Assailants on the desks turn into pillars of flame. He laughs and raises his arms. The curtains catch fire. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is intense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames, and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps towards the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. He's going to burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run up behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor. Even through his clothes, his body sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Thomas by the shoulders with burning hands. Thomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take the teacher away. His body covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor silent. Soon 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver, the Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisition remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains, the ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us from his evil grasp. The next day you are forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. So it looks like magic is crazy. Like, it, like, takes over your mind. Like, just what they say, like, takes over. Like, he was, like, fine and scared and stuff, and then, like, his magic went off, and, like, he just wanted to kill everybody and burn down the school. It's crazy. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the Empire, blessed by the twins themselves. The Emperor's reign continues into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city, and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that grandfather is going to bring Stefan back for the holiday. They say family should celebrate the Day of Anointment together. You could benefit from your elder brother's company. With his noble education, Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still grandfather's double, but he's more grown up now and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps the city through the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He's telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the Empire. It is full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You have read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the sitting room, not in the kitchen. I heard she wanted to sneak off to the ruins of Melanidus' palace. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Melanidus, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you're not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with sword in sheath. Get ready, Noob. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk to the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You're confused by Stefan's actions. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still determined to rescue her? Stefan notices your expression. You suddenly wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she's one of our own. You are a Brante too, noble or not, which means it's your duty to aid me. I feel like Gloria might have magic. I'm gonna just call that now. The ruins of Shar Melanidus' palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way to the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is laying on the ground, face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts. Look at the lass sitting here rhyming words together. She thinks she's an all-noble. But don't you worry, you low-born tart. We're going to teach you your place. One of the loud spit at Gloria's. She sits there. Go away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts. They respond with mocking laughter. Stefan draws his sword. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice he is only one armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. Stand by my side. Don't let them flank me. Stefan's hands shake, but he looks ready for battle. He is outnumbered for a moment, but you hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run for the nearby district and call for guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. They start approaching you and Stefan cautiously. You know what, big bro? He's been training to fight. He's got a sword. They got sticks. I'm gonna stick by his side so he doesn't get flanked, and he's gonna kill them all. Stefan's firm voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. It takes a moment to grab a stick, and then you are at your Stefan's back, angrily swinging at the louts as they try to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with a stick and he falls down right at Stefan's feet. His sword flashes, the blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes, blood starts pouring into the ground, the thugs freeze. Stefan pulls up a sword out, his face an inscrutable mask, and returns to his fighting stance. You are stunned to see Stefan take another man's life so easily and effortlessly, like picking his own teeth. Thugs look like they're about to flee. There is a raging confusion on their faces. They never expected the young nobleman to use that sword. Stefan just scoffs at them. Lowborn scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up, we're going home. He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stefan. Your back is against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head, then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in bed. Stefan is in the armchair next to you, reading a book. He is alive, with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stefan looks up from the book. Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I'm impressed. We fought like an army. The noble's orders, the commoner obeys, all according to our lots. We defended the family's honor together. You know, brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage, not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes a part of his family's legacy, flowing into the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A nobleman mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like people of the lowborn lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there's so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but it's what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? There's approval in your brother's eyes for the first time in a long while. It was a pleasure to fight side by side, my brother. Now my bro likes us too! Awesome! We're still full power! You know what? I like the whole family. Bro, he's just being mocked by... Not mocked, but he's being tainted by grandfather. It's not okay. We're going to get through this year and call it a episode, by the way, I think. Trail of the Assailants. Before long, the entire city hears of how a gang of lowborn thugs assaulted Stefan Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as lesser deaths releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stefan and Grandfather decide to stay in Anazat until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. You ask Father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin guns also made the Empire in all its ways. The court of laws exists to execute the laws of heaven here in our world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it, and so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offense. There is no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. This means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen and her fingers reaching for her long hair. You pull away from your school books and asks what is bothering her. The trial is tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too as an eyewitness after all. This whole mess started because of me, but Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine that? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought Stefan standing up for me finally meant something. Maybe I'll become part of the family. But no, everything is back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble. Why did he took me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but can't help get lost in thought. What if they told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. It is Father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There is an exhausted look about him. Son, you'll be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The lowborn men insulted Stefan first and then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will be cast suspicion on the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Do not let me down. We are all counting on you. You recall the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawled under the feet of those cackling thugs, her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's all noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she's part of the family? But if you do what father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated and cannot predict how the trial will end, which is more important to you, what is right or what is just. I'm not gonna lie to Dad. I think I am gonna try to convince him, though. I think I'm going to try. You look father straight in the eye and tell him what you think. You are not going to bear false witness in court. He is a judge himself, so how can you make you lie to Sir Elborn? And what of Gloria? Is she not a Brante too? Does she not deserve justice? Or maybe grandfather is right and she is a freeloader who deserves nothing but shame. If so, then how come father agreed to take her into his home and render his protection? Saying this to father is tough. Deep inside, you pray he hears no weakness in your voice and sees no blood rushing to your cheeks. But it seems he is listening to you intently. The wrinkles on his forehead grow deeper as his fingers stammer out a staccato against the armrest. This is going to be tough, son, but you're right. You are right. I took Gloria into my home, and I must protect her like my own daughter. This was my decision. I must stand by it. I will speak with Stefan in the morning. Now I pray your grandfather never hears of my change of heart. The day comes, the trial takes place in the lesser halls of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as judge. You are the first to testify to the court. You tell the court the truth about that night, how the thugs humiliated Gloria, how Stefan and you came to help her, and how Stefan defended his half-sister. Out of the corner of your eye, you watch grandfather's face grow red, yet he remains silent. There are confused whispers in the hall, and the commoners on trial cry out. It's the truth. Gloria was reciting poetry, and they simply told her she was defying her lot. The situation has changed. By this account, Stefan was not acting in defense of himself or another. He merely assaulted them first in order to retaliate against those who insulted his half-sister. You spread your feet and stand firm and inhale before you speak next. You ask the hall, is it not a nobleman's duty to honor his family name? Gloria does not have the Brante name, but your father took her into his home. Therefore, it is Stefan's duty to protect her. See if he protected any of you. Contemptuous chuckles rush through the courtroom. You have just reminded the city of father's shameful second marriage. Stefan is to testify next. He reluctantly confirms your testimony, glancing at father and grandfather all the while. His arm is in a sling as his main argument. Stefan wanted the commoners to stop insulting Gloria, and yet in the end, the commoners were the first to assault him. After a short recess, Sir Elborn returns and arises to deliver his sentence. The court of Anazat finds you guilty of assaulting Stefan Brante, a nobleman who stood in defense and honor of Gloria, a member of this household. All four defendants are sentenced to true death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel gusts sweep through the hall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. That very power has been invoked by this sentence, and by that very sentence, the lives of 4 young men are literally forfeit for all eternity. The gallows await. Sorry, I had to sneeze. The gallows await. Stefan stands in the front row. Father stands next to him. The wood creaks. The trapdoors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, wheezing and reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Grandfather's silence ends at home. He screams at you and father, at Stefan and Gloria. This trial is a disgrace. The screams are punctuated by the thudding of his walking stick against the floor. Father says they had to defend their family. It would have truly been a disgrace if they had shirked their responsibilities. Stefan excuses himself to bandage his arm in order to stay out of the argument. Gloria is quiet, but glowing. You stay quiet too. It is all over now. It is all over now. Nobody bullies Gloria on the streets anymore. Those 4 commoners are dead forever. Their families were taught a cruel lesson, so will it be with anyone who dares to raise their hand against a nobleman. Yeah, Grandpa don't like us very much, but we're at high peace. We have really bad honor, unfortunately, but we're really high peace. Good. I'll take my high peace. And we go up in noble, go up in spiritualism. We lose a little bit of willpower, but that's okay. Are we finally ending the year? The event is a consequence of your previous actions. Okay, we're gonna call it here then, guys. That's gonna do it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like. If you've got anything to say, go to the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscription button and the bell. It helps me out a ton. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.